Welcome back to the North Star Takes podcast, your one-stop shop for Minnesota sports content and takes. Bailey Palicki and Jacob Werner with you here. You can find any of our videos on YouTube at North Star Takes podcast, and you can also keep up with us on Instagram and Twitter. Today, we're going to chat about the breaking news in the NFL. Julio Jones has finally been moved. I know it's been kind of a impending thing these last few weeks with this displeasure with the Falcons and coming on undisputed with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp, of course, and revealing his intentions to move on from the Falcons. And now it's finally happened. I mean, it was only a matter of time after this June 1st deadline here. So now the Falcons freed up some cap space, and Julio Jones found a new home in Tennessee. Yeah. Now, what's your instant thoughts on this? Instant reaction?
I feel like Tennessee was always kind of the favorite all along. I mean, you had A.J. Brown trying to recruit him through social media, sending him DMs and whatnot. And I just think it always kind of made sense. Tennessee lost Corey Davis to the New York Jets this offseason. They kind of needed a second receiver to take some of that pressure off A.J. Brown, who I think is a great young receiver in the NFL.
100%.
So I think this is a good move for the Titans. Obviously, they only had to give up a second and a fourth. And they're not even in the same draft, so that's kind of cool. Julio's obviously aging, but I still think he's got plenty of game left. I mean, he was pretty good last year. The only concern really right now with him is the injuries.
And just age. Yeah, he's like 32 or 33 now.
Yeah, so I mean, it's probably just a couple-year thing, but I think the Titans are trying to make a push to make another playoff run here and try and get to the Super Bowl. So I don't know. I think the Titans got a pretty good team. That offense is pretty good. Tannehill, I'm lukewarm on. I don't think he's fantastic, but he got him all the way to the AFC Championship game a couple of years ago. So
this is true.
The defense I still think is a work in progress for them, but I don't know. They could be a potential contender there in the AFC.
100%. Yeah, I totally agree with that, especially coming off a division title season. I think it's good for them to make an aggressive move like this because this is their window now before guys like Trevor Lawrence really get up to speed and they make the Jaguars a relevant team again. And I know they got the Colts. They're gonna be competitive, and the Texans are just cellar dwellers. I don't have to worry about them.
Yeah, they're terrible.
Yeah, that's another story for another day. But I think this is a great move for both teams. I think the Falcons, I think they could have got a little more, in my opinion. I mean, obviously he's getting up there in age, and Julio has the injury history, so that's a little concerning. But still, I think they could have got more in a second-round pick. But, I mean, they got a couple draft picks, I suppose, for a guy who literally came out to the public and said he wanted to be traded. So, yes. I mean, you got to do what you can do there because you kind of lose leverage that way. So, I think, it's just a good move for both teams. Obviously, time will tell. Maybe Julio doesn't do as much as everybody expects in Tennessee, or maybe he does. Maybe he's the missing piece to the Titans getting past the Bills or Chiefs and in that AFC playoff picture. So I don't know. At this point, I'm feeling pretty good from both team standpoints, but I guess I'd probably lean more towards the Titans got more of a steal than the Falcons. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I mean, it does feel like, Julio Jones, he should have gotten at least a first-round pick.
Yeah.
But, like, if I'm running an NFL team and you sit there and think about it, it's like, would you trade a first-round pick for a 32-year-old with injury problems?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. For me, I wouldn't, especially looking at it from the Vikings perspective. I know a lot of people wanted the Vikings to get in on the Julio Jones sweepstakes, and it just doesn't make sense to trade a first-round pick when you already have Jefferson and Thielen. I mean, it'd be great to add Julio Jones, but Thielen's already getting up there in age. He's in his 30s, so you don't need another guy like that. You don't need to trade a first-round pick. Plus, his cap hit is massive.
Exactly. I'd rather save that first-round pick and maybe get your own young receiver next year.
Exactly.
Obviously, draft picks are never a sure thing, and looking at our first-round draft pick history in recent memory, I mean, obviously, it's not just all hits. So I mean, that's always a risk, but still, I mean, you can also hit on guys like Jefferson. You have this guy for a year instead of Julio for a year or two or something like that. So I think you're right there. That it's kind of hard parting with the first round pick for a guy with an injury history like he has and being 32, 33 years old.
Yes.
But on the flip side, he does have that athleticism that's just kind of unmatched in the league right now. I mean, for all those years in Atlanta, I mean, he's just this athletic freak that's just kind of hard to match up with. So I think I like what the Titans are getting for this title push they're trying to make in the very, very near future. So I think pairing him with A.J. Brown is kind of a fun idea. And obviously having Henry in the backfield. So maybe get more looks where it's like Brown and Jones have to be accounted for. So then maybe get two high safety looks more often. And then you really open up the box for Derrick Henry to do what he does. So
yeah, it's a nice three-headed monster for sure. And I think A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, assuming that Julio's still Julio and he stays healthy, I think they have a chance to be one of the best wide receiver duos in the NFL. I mean, you got Thielen and Jefferson up there, obviously.
Yep.
Who else? Who are like the main ones? Those guys, the guys from the Bengals are up there, I would say.
Yeah, AJ or not AJ Green.
Tyler,
Jamar Chase.
Yes.
I mean, and like you said, T Higgins.
They really have
top
3,
boy.
honestly.
It's a very nice trio. Yeah,
I
but
feel like I'm forgetting a main one here.
I know the Bucks have Godwin and Evans, which is really nice.
Yep.
And then also, I mean, think what you want, I suppose, about the Browns. But I mean, they have OBJ and Jarvis Landry. But I mean, we never really seen that duo in Cleveland come together as much as the thought would. And like on paper, it looks great, but like the actual production of it, I don't know.
And you got those Cowboys receivers as well.
Very true. They got a nice trio too. So
there's a lot of competition there, but I feel like I don't know. And to put a fantasy football twist on this, I think this actually helps AJ Brown. Like I said, they lost Corey Davis, so teams would have been able to focus on him a lot more. But now having Julio Jones on the other side, that definitely opens things up for him. So just another quick thought here before we wrap up. We haven't talked much about the Aaron Rodgers situation lately.
Oh, yeah.
How are you kind of feeling about that? Since we've last talked about it, he's gone on SportsCenter with Kenny Mayne and kind of threw out his frustrations with the Packers, basically saying it's about the culture, it's about the people. It was kind of a little cryptic thing. I don't know. It didn't get a whole lot out of it, but then you got the Packers president coming out and saying that the Aaron Rodgers situation has divided the fan base, which I'm sure that's only pouring fuel on the fire. So
absolutely.
What kind of sense do you get of what's going to happen here with Aaron Rodgers? Do you think it's all but over in Green Bay?
Oh, man, I have no idea. I mean, I could go any way on this. It's just, what's Aaron Rodgers thinking, I guess? How unforgivable is what the front office did to him, or at least in his mind, like how unforgivable really is it? Is it something that really can be fixed or not? And only Aaron Rodgers knows that. So at this point, I gotta lean more towards him staying in Green Bay, because at this point, I think it's the logistics of it, as far as some other team trading for him right now. I feel like it just doesn't work as well. But I mean,
do you also think he just sits out though?
There is that possibility too. I mean, he holds all the leverage here, so he could just sit out and become a full-time host of Jeopardy. I don't know. So I think that's a very realistic possibility. I think everything's on the table, and I don't think one possibility outweighs another at this point.
He's just so unpredictable. I mean,
which way are you leaning? I don't know.
Like, I want to think he's going to get traded, but like the Packers are just playing absolute hardball. But the longer they keep doing this, the less they could possibly get for him too. True. I mean, it's after June 1st now, so all the cap hits have come down on players with guaranteed contracts. So if they did trade him, they wouldn't have to take as much of a hit on that front. And then, a team like Denver or something who would be more than happy, or Las Vegas, and even if you traded him to Las Vegas, you could get Derek Carr in return. You could maybe get a first rounder or two, maybe, and you could get a haul. And Derek Carr's not great by any means, but he's probably better than Jordan Love.
Fair, yeah, and that's also another thing to consider is how confident are the Packers in Jordan Love. Like, are they playing hardball right now? Just see what team might come along still and be like, hey, we'll just give you a whole ton. We'll back up the truck for you with all of our assets. So that's another thing to consider is like internally, if you feel good about Love, I'm guessing Rodgers will never play another game for Green Bay. And
that's the interesting part of it. It's like, would they be playing this hardball if Jordan Love was like, oh yeah, this guy's so good, we're ready for him to be our next guy? They had no problem kicking Favre out the door for Aaron Rodgers. So. True.
And here's another thing too that I think should be considered is that kind of I think flies under the radar. And obviously this shouldn't be like a poster statement, but I think it should be acknowledge that all the Packers receivers, like their top 5 receivers, none of them showed up for OTAs along with their quarterback.
That's
so,
right.
So like, do they respect the quarterback room when Rodgers isn't there, or what's the dynamic? I mean,
and that's what's so funny. He's like, Devontae Adams, he probably has the clout to do that. He's
100%.
One of the best receivers in the NFL every year.
Yes,
but guys like Marquez Valdez-Scantling and Alan Lazard and Equinemius St. Brown. What do they have? What ground do they have to stand on? I mean, why are these guys? I mean, it's not mandatory, so we need to throw that out there too. But none of these guys are in there getting work with Jordan Love, and he might be their quarterback this year.
Exactly. I feel like these guys are all replaceable players if they have bad years this year. And if they're not getting work in with Jordan Love, who could be their QB, that could set them off on a downward spiral here this season. All of a sudden, they're exploring new wide receiver options. So I think that's a risky play on their own. But, I mean, I guess if they don't like what the Packers are doing there and they favor their guy 12, then I don't know.
Yeah, it's nice to see some drama in Green Bay. So
it's great.
It'll be exciting to see how that plays out.
Exactly. It's only good for the Vikings. Even if Rodgers is back next season, there's still going to be a friction there. There's going to be a weird energy.
Right.
I mean, him missing these offseason workouts and possibly leading into training camp wouldn't surprise me at all. I think that's where you're really going to see them get set back from the rest of the NFL, kind of getting into gear for the season.
For sure. It's just going to be a major distraction.
Exactly. But I think that'll do it for this conversation, and that's going to do it for this edition of North Star Takes Podcast. Be sure to like our videos and subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as give us a follow on Instagram and Twitter. Stay tuned for more content coming soon, and also give us your thoughts on if you think Rodgers is going to stay in Green Bay, maybe he's going to get traded, or if you think he's just going to straight up retire or sit out.